90.3 FM. This is the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. First off, let's take a look at the top stories. Students protest in Oyo, rally support for Dangote refinery. Also, President Tinubu's aide slams U.S. lawmaker over Nigeria's comments. Yakub hands over to Agbamuche as INEC acting chair. Again, President Tinubu seeks National Assembly approval for $2.3 billion, $500 million borrowing debt refinancing. Also, Reps condemns bandit attack on Kwara community. Also, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu speaks on Tinubu's minister's alleged certificate forgery. And the president summons Council of State Police Council to strategic meeting. Details now. Thank you for staying with us. We begin the news with some members of the National Association of Oduduwa Students, the Coalition of Yoruba Students, and the Yoruba Movement currently staging a peaceful protest in solidarity with the Dangote refinery amid its ongoing face-off with oil unions, Pengasin, Nupeng, and the Depot and Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria. The protesters converged today at Iwo Road roundabout, end of Ibadan-Lagos Expressway, Ibadan in Oyo State, and they were chanting different songs to show their solidarity. They are marching through major routes, waving placards with inscriptions such as "Don't kill Dangote refinery," "Stop sabotaging fuel in Nigeria," hashtag "End Pengasin," hashtag "End Dapman," hashtag "Dangote refinery is a national asset," hashtag "Stop sabotage," amongst others. They wore shirts marching and emblazoned with "Don't kill Dangote refinery." The students said the protest is aimed at drawing government attention to what they describe as a coordinated attempt by vested interests to frustrate the operations of the refinery, which is Nigeria's biggest industrial investment and Africa's largest single train refinery. The NAOS President Olalere Adetunji called on the President to, as a matter of urgent importance, including other relevant agencies, to intervene urgently. They also called on security operators, including the police and the Federal Road Safety Corps, who were on ground to maintain order as the protests continue to hold sway. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu's Special Assistant on Media, Olusegun Dada, has criticized U.S. Congressman Riley Moore over his recent comments alleging persecution of Christians in Nigeria. In a post on X today, Dada, known on the platform as Daddy Dio, called the U.S. lawmaker ignorant about Nigeria's religious realities. Firstly, let me say, Congressman Riley, you were ignorant, if not more ignorant than Ted Cruz about Nigeria. End quote. He added that Nigeria is a proud sovereign nation built on the faith and resilience of its people, stressing that no faith is under siege and no community is excluded. Churches, mosques, traditional shrines stand side by side, but not as rivals, but as symbols of the unity that binds Nigerians. Dada's comments came in response to a series of posts by Riley Moore on Monday, where the U.S. lawmaker described Nigeria as the deadliest country in the world for Christians. Moore had urged U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio to designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged religious persecution. Since Boko Haram's insurgency in 2009, more than 50,000 Christians have been murdered and more than 5 million displaced. Moore wrote, claiming that at least 250 priests had been attacked or killed in the last decade, and that more than 19,000 churches have been attacked or destroyed since 2009. He further alleged that some state and federal officials in Nigeria were complicit in attacks on Christians and cited instances of anti-blasphemy laws being enforced. Most posts follow similar remarks by U.S. Senator Ted Cruz, who in late September alleged that Nigerian officials were ignoring and even facilitating the mass murder of Christians by Islamist jihadists. Responding to both lawmakers, Dada maintained that their claims were unfounded and misrepresented Nigeria's religious coexistence. He wrote, "I hope hashtag Tucker Carlson can ask Ted Cruz this line of questions again, but this time about Nigeria. Ted Cruz wanted the states to go on war with Iran, but he didn't know the population or cultural makeup of Iran. Same total ignorance about Nigeria." End quote. Now, Professor Mahmud Yakub has handed over to May Agbamuche as the acting national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Agbamuche is the oldest serving national commissioner in the electoral body. Professor Mahmud announced this today at the ongoing meeting with resident electoral commissioners on the INEC headquarters in Abuja. He solicited the support of the commissioners and directors of the commission for Agbamuche until the appointment of a substantive chairman. But till now, Nigerians are still a little bit confused as to what this means. Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has sought the approval of the House of Representatives for new external borrowing and debt refinancing totaling $2.3 billion, alongside the issuance of a $500 million debut sovereign sukuk in the international capital market. This was contained in a letter read on the floor of the House of the Speaker by Tajuddin Abbas. The letter seeks the National Assembly's resolution in line with Sections 21, subsection 1 and Sections 27, subsection 1 of the Debt Management Office Establishment Act 2003. The president said the new borrowing is aimed at implementing provisions of the 2025 Appropriation Act, refinancing maturing Eurobonds, and diversifying Nigeria's funding sources through Islamic finance instruments. According to him, the 2025 budget provides for $9.27 billion in total new borrowings to finance the year's fiscal deficit, out of which $1.84 billion, that is 1.23 trillion naira at an exchange rate of 1,500 naira to a dollar, is earmarked for external loans. The president urged the lawmakers to authorize the federal government to source the funds through any of the following options: issuance of Eurobonds, loan syndication, bridge financing from book runners, or direct borrowing from international financial institutions. He equally revealed that Nigeria's 1.118 billion Eurobond dollars issued in 2018 at 7.65% and maturing in November 2025 will be refinanced to avoid default. He further noted that the decision was inspired by the government's considerable success in domestic sukuk issuances, which have raised 1.39 trillion naira since 2017 for critical infrastructure, particularly road projects. He said the proposed international sukuk will help bridge the country's infrastructure funding gap and deepen its investor base. Tinubu then assured the House that the Federal Ministry of Finance and the Debt Management Office would work closely with transaction advisors to secure the most favorable terms and pricing for all capital raising efforts subject to prevailing market conditions. Now, Rahim Tunji Olawuyi, a member representing Ekiti Isi Irepodu Okere Federal Constituency in the House of Representatives, has strongly condemned the Monday attack in Idofi Odoashe, Okere local government area, Kwara State. The lawmaker, in a personal statement issued today, described the attack as a cowardly act that seeks to disrupt the peace and stability of the community. Ajulokwe expressed deep concerns over the unfortunate incident and sympathized with the victims, their families, and the entire community affected by the bloody attack. He argued that acts of violence had no place in a civilized society and urged security agencies to intensify efforts in bringing the perpetrators to justice. While commending the swift response of both the federal and Kwara state governments, as well as the security agencies and local vigilante groups, the lawmaker reiterated that the fight against insecurity requires collective responsibility. He also called on traditional rulers, community leaders, and residents to remain vigilant and cooperate fully with security operatives by providing timely and credible information. In another development, the presidency on Monday stated it would not take any immediate action against the Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Uche Naji, who is embroiled in a certificate forgery scandal until the court delivers its verdict. The special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Onanuga, made the clarification while responding to inquiries on the matter. Onanuga, in an interview with the leadership, said the matter is already in court and that we should await the verdict of the court. The controversy deepened last week when the University of Nigeria in Nsukka disowned the Bachelor of Science degree certificate allegedly submitted by the minister. In a letter dated October 2, 2025, and signed by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Simon Otwanya, the institution confirmed that although Naji was admitted in 1981 to study microbiology/biochemistry, he never completed the program. For every available record and information from the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, we're unable to confirm Mr. Jeffrey Uchechukwu Naji, the current Minister of Science and Technology, graduated from the University of Nigeria in July 1985, as there are no records of his completion of study. Following the above, the University of Nigeria in Nsukka did not, and consequently could not, have issued the purported certificate in July 1985 to Mr. Jeffrey Uchechukwu Naji. The school also noted that the position was consistent with an earlier letter sent to the Public Complaints Commission in May 13, 2025. Well, in his filing before the Federal High Court, Naji admitted that he had not yet collected his degree certificate, blaming the delay on what he described as the university's non-cooperative attitude. The minister, however, insists he graduated in 1985, citing a previous letter from the university in December 2023 that had affirmed his graduation. Well, civil society organizations and opposition politicians have continued to demand that Naji step aside pending the conclusion of the case. President Bola Tinubu has summoned a strategic meeting involving the Council of State and the Police Council. This development was made known in a statement released on Monday by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume. The statement, signed by the Director of Information and Public Relations of the SGF Office, Segun Imohiose, said the meeting, scheduled for Thursday, October 9, 2025, aims to discuss matters of national importance and key issues affecting national security and policing. Also, the meeting details are as follows. Date Thursday, October 9, 2025. Meeting with the Council of State is for 1 p.m. Meeting with the Police Council is for 2 p.m. And the venue is the Council Chambers, Aso Villa. The statement conveyed the President's request for members to participate either physically or virtually. He added that the high-level meeting underscores President Bola Tinubu's commitment to addressing pressing national issues and ensuring the safety and security of citizens. The meeting comes weeks after President Tinubu confirmed plans to establish state police. The Nigerian leader declared that the creation of state police has become unavoidable as part of efforts to strengthen the fight against insecurity across the country. While receiving the delegation of prominent Katsina indigents led by Governor Diko Rada, the president directed security agencies to reassess their strategies in Katsina State, which has been hit hard by banditry. You're currently listening to the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. We'll take a very short break. When we return, we'll definitely take more news and head into a news analysis segment. To kindly stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. This is still the World News right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Now, in more news reports, an Abuja High Court has adjourned the ongoing trial of former National Security Advisor Colonel Sambo Dasuki to October 31, after the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission sought time to list one of its witnesses in the case. The adjournment followed objections raised by the defense team, which argued that the prosecution latest witness, Dariko Michael, was not listed in the official documents earlier served on the defendants. Dasuki served as the NSA under former President Goodluck Jonathan. He is facing an amended 32-count charge bordering on criminal breach of trust, dishonest release, and receipt of 33.2 billion naira allegedly diverted from the office of the National Security Advisor. He is being tried alongside a former general manager at the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Aminu Baba Kusa, and two firms, Acacia Housing Limited and Reliance Referral Hospital Limited. The EFCC alleged that Dasuki authorized the release of about 10 billion naira in foreign currencies from UNSA's Central Bank of Nigeria account to fund the 2014 presidential primaries of the then ruling People's Democratic Party. Meanwhile, there was a heated confrontation today at the House of Representatives between the lawmaker representing Ikwana Umuahia North, Umuahia South Federal Constituency of Abia State, Obi Agbamuche, and Speaker Tajuddin Abbas over the health condition of detained indigenous people of Biafran leader Nnamdi Kanu. Rising on a point of privilege during plenary, Agbamuche lamented that a letter he submitted on August 26 to the Speaker, Attorney General of the Federation Lateef Fagbemi, and President Bola Tinubu regarding Kanu's worsening health had not received any response. The Speaker, however, queried Agbamuche's use of point of privilege to demand action on the matter, noting that the floor of the House was not the appropriate venue. If it is something specific to the office of the Speaker, Honorable, I find it intriguing that you come by way of privilege to demand action, Abbas disclosed, adding that Agbamuche had direct access to his office. But Agbamuche insisted he had already visited the Speaker's office, stressing that the issue was a matter of life and death and urgent intervention. The Speaker stood his ground, saying he had no obligation to disclose any action taken in response to the letter. He maintained that the chamber was not the place for such follow-ups and eventually ruled Agbamuche out of order, bringing the fiery exchange to an end. Despite the ruling, Agbamuche argued that the House rules entitled him to raise matters of privilege and urged the chamber to treat Kanu's health as urgent. You do know that Nnamdi Kanu has been in the custody of the DSS since his extradition from Kenya in June 2021. He is currently facing terrorism charges. I currently have joining us via the telephone Mr. Elvis Elimehele, who is a political, national and social affairs commentator. Mr. Elvis Elimehele will be speaking on some issues or stories being read out on the world news at 6. Mr. Elvis, good evening and thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Good evening, Esther. How are you doing?
I am fine, sir. Welcome to the world news.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Elvis, apparently something quite, would I say, expected or unexpected has taken place. Let's start off with the INEC chair. You do know that we've heard several talks about the appointment of a new INEC chair. We had heard of Amikwiton being the person that will be handed over to. But in a twist of events, Yakub handed over to the INEC chair, whose name is May Agbamuche. Apparently, you know his tenure expires in November. We've heard several talks that the presidency had compelled him to leave office. We also had talks that INEC chairman Mahmud Yakub was not meant to identify some political parties that were recently approved. Possibly he was meant to stall or maybe wait or whatever, hold some order, something. But that, he did not do that. And he is currently not finding favor with the current political party. We've also heard stories or, some information that he has some things to reveal about what transpired in 2023. All of this are permutation. However, he has handed over to Agbamuche. Now, she's one of the older 7 persons in INEC, and she was the one who is to take charge now that Mahmoud Yakub is supposedly meant to go on leave. This leave, we heard, was from the presidency. Well, this announcement was made today during a stakeholders meeting with resident electoral commissioners. And Yakubu was one who presided over this meeting. And he's been in charge of INEC since 2015, conducted the recently general elections of 2023, which had quite a lot of controversy. So the acting chairman, Agbamuche May, is a lawyer with over 30 years of professional experience. According to some experts, she's meant to bring a wealth of expertise to the role. She's a native of Delta, but was raised in Kano. She actually, all her descriptions, she attended the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, and she obtained her LLB in 1984. So the thing is, a couple of persons are saying, okay, this is new, but she's going to be the acting chair. It doesn't change anything. We heard yesterday that some opposition political leaders are saying that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu should not be the one to actually indicate the next INEC chair. A group of persons from diverse sectors should be the ones to come together and choose an INEC chair. That because the president is appointing a new INEC chair, then the person would have to do and work according to the whims and caprices of the administration, and that does not represent the true interests of the people. So, what do you think about this development?
Well, the development, Esther, is a good one. At least let us see the exit of Mahmoud Yakub. That's okay. A good one. I'm happy about that. And can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. I can hear you.
Okay, good. At least Yakub Mahmud is going. And handing over to Agbamuche, yes, in government organogram, when a senior member, a senior executive is leaving, you usually hand over to the next that is, like his immediate subordinate. So I think that's also normal. And if you also ask me, Esther, Agbamuche, Madam has very impeccable CV, which unfortunately she's only on acting capacity for now. Probably the new INEC chairman will come in. But some people of like somebody of such impeccable CV like herself, I would have also support a situation where such person is considered for that kind of plump job.
Okay.
And again, I also want a situation where the next INEC chairman may come from maybe some of these minority tribe, not really this majority tribe like Hausa, Yoruba, or whatever. I just wanted somebody from, minority tribe.
But Mr. Elvis, in reality, do we actually have minority tribe in Nigeria? I think this whole majority and minority tribe thing is... Okay. Hello? Hello, Mr. Elvis Elimehele, can you hear me? Okay, it rained today, so obviously this kind of network situation is expected. I will try to contact Sir Elvis Elimehele once again. Basically, the essence of majority and minority tribe has been something of dispute. The controversy has emerged ever since the population that Nigeria has been experiencing for almost a decade. For more than 2 decades, the wholesome population in Nigeria has called to question as to what the authenticity is about majority and minority tribes. You also have tribes that have intermingled, intermarried, and you cannot necessarily say a particular tribe is a minority or another tribe is a majority. However, while that is still under contention, corrections are being made to reevaluate some of the assessment we have about certain ethnic sectors in Nigeria, their component, and obviously their immense implementation to economic and productive growth in the country. Okay, the next question I want Mr. Elvis Elimehele to help us look into is concerning the new borrowing plan by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to the House of Representatives. So from the National Assembly, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is seeking an approval of $2.3 billion and $500 million borrowing debt refinancing. What that means is what we want to clarify right about now. So, for example, I'm sure you very well know that when the president traveled to Brazil, he told us that there's no need for borrowing, that we were able to generate more money from internal production, that's IGR, without relying on oil. And he was very specific about it and said it was a very good thing. He also talked about the fact that we had cleared our debt. Mr. Elvis.
Yeah, I'm with you, Esther. Is it better now?
Yeah, I wasn't hearing anything at all. You just zoomed off. Okay, so Mr. Elvis, let's look at the situation with the president seeking from the National Assembly new borrowing plans. Very recently, the president told us that we don't need to borrow anymore when he actually discountenanced President Donald Trump of the United States, that we may not even need his aid for whatever reason when Trump was canceling some African nations that would not be receiving any aid. And the president rebuffed him and said, "Hello, Mr. Trump. To be honest with you, we don't even need you. Nigeria is doing okay on its own," when he talked about non-oil exports and how much we made from it. The president also talked about the fact that there is no longer corruption in this country. And in 1 week after, we had the president asking for another loan. And now, this time around also, he's seeking approval from the House of Representatives for new external borrowing and debt refinancing, which totals $2.3 billion, alongside the issuance of a $500 million debut sovereign sukuk in the international capital market. Please describe to us what this means, because he says this money is for infrastructural developments ongoing in the country.
Yes, I saw those borrowing that the president, these recent ones from the president. Why we continue to ask the infrastructure that this government is putting all this borrowing? Are Nigerians actually seeing these infrastructures on ground? Are we seeing them? We still look at all the major roads in Nigeria, even the federal roads, the so-called federal roads. How many of them can you ply, without having issues. There's none of them working. I don't know the infrastructure. I've not heard that this station is building a new airport or building a new seaport. All this money, the only infrastructure that we keep hearing about that's putting in is all about road and bridges. I don't know, and there's none of them that we have seen that this government has commissioned in the past 2 years. And ASU has given an ultimatum now to go on strike. This money is not going to federal institutions. It's not going to the health sector. We've seen the resident doctor just went on strike about 2 weeks ago, and even as it is, it's just suspended. It's not as if their requests have been met. So when we hear of all this borrowing, we hear infrastructure. The question keep coming. Where is this infrastructure that this government is putting on this borrowing? So a situation and it's still, one would have even expected that at least this government should manage this little part of this year till January, when they said they will come up with the new tax regime. And from that new tax regime, we know too well that they are going to be generating more revenue from Nigeria. Even though we are hungry, but they want to tax us to feed themselves. Unfortunately, they cannot even get to January when the new tax regime will kick off. So, to avoid this borrowing that go with interest, putting debt on my neck, my children and our grandchildren to come. So it's a shameful thing. We don't know, but I think as we begin to discuss it, we begin to think of how to ask where is actually this money going to, which infrastructure are we thinking of talking. This insecurity is still, it's still everywhere in Nigeria. No, you can't move freely. The military will tell you that even they are not adequately funded to fight the insurgency. So where is this bombing going to? That's the big question. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I would have loved us to actually look into that, because according to him, he mentioned some statistics as to what the money is meant to be used for. So, but because of time, I want us to look at other important issues. All right, Mr. Elvis, the president, you talked about insecurity, right? That you felt like most of the money is being gotten would have been used to finance the military sector in order to help refortify our territory against insurgency. Mr. Elvis, the president has summoned a strategic meeting which involves the Council of State and the Police Council. This development was made known on Monday evening by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. And the date is Thursday, October 9, 2025. The meeting with the Council of State is for 1 p.m. The meeting with the Police Council is for 2 p.m. And the Council chamber is in the Aso Villa. So, obviously, the president is requesting for members to participate either physically or virtually. It's a high-level meeting which underscores the president's commitment to addressing pressing national issues and ensuring the safety and security of citizens. Mr. Elvis Emile Mahele, in the past 3-4 days, we've been hearing talks from the United States senators, Senator Ted Cruz, very recently Riley Moore, and Andrew Scheer. These are top senators in the U.S. who have designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern. They have also said that more than 50,000 Christians in Nigeria have been killed. They've also asked that politicians from Nigeria should be banned from having access to the United States because they have been complacent, quiet, lackadaisical in addressing the cries and clamor of Nigerians who have been victims from the onslaught of the jihadist agenda or jihadist movement. They're also saying that the Nigerian politicians and leaders are complicit and they don't take it serious in addressing this issue. Mr. Elvis, if you recall, in March, a particular priest from Benue went to the UK Parliament to tell them and give them details of the existential crisis they're going through in Benue, how most of their parish members, and including priests, have been abducted and killed in gory ways. There were video footages, how their members were slaughtered and killed, how communities have been displaced, and how they have been crying and no one is listening to them, no one has come to their aid. That time in March, the president met with Bishop Matthew Kuka in Aso Villa, along with other archbishops, to discuss the situation when Nigeria was being said to be a country of particular concern, that Christians were being persecuted. The president immediately called the archbishops for a meeting in Aso Villa. The idea was there is no Christian persecution per se. The insecurity cuts across board. Ever since then, we've not heard any of the religious leaders speak against any form of insecurity. They have been mute after that meeting. It's coming up again. There are a couple of conspiracy theories surrounding this particular movement and outcry from the US Senate. And most of the spokespersons of the president have been calling them out and saying they want to cause a religious war in Nigeria. This is what a couple of Nigerians feel is eliciting the president to call for a council meeting of state. Do you think the president is too late in addressing this?
No, it's not too late, Esther. Especially now that the call came from the U.S. The Council of State meeting is a very powerful meeting. It comprises of past leaders, both in the executive and the legislators and even in the judiciary. Well, let us also believe that by the time they meet on Thursday, they'll be able to tell the president the actual truth. A situation where you get to the meeting and be bending the truth, that's where the issues are.
Mr. Elvis, before the president traveled to Rome, he met with the Chief of Defense Staff. He met with the Chief of Naval Staff. He met with the Chief of Air Force. He met with the Inspector General of Police concerning insecurity. They all gave a report that they were working on it and they had their foot down in handling it. This was before the president went to Rome. How do we think that's not the same report they will give this time around? I mean, it's just going to be a bunch of reports of everything is okay. We can handle the situation. We have men on ground, but the situation keeps escalating. So how do you think you're not going to get the same report of the last time that the president met with them before he traveled to Rome?
No. We have seen so much devastation in terms of security since that time till now. This time around, even as the meeting is going on, or even before the meeting is going on, let us intensify effort in relaying it so that citizens will also hear in the news that these are some of the areas that Nigerians actually want them to tackle. Nigerians want them to actually speak one-on-one, the actual truth to the president, not a situation where you come out of that meeting and say they are doing their best. Even though we know that their best have not been
Mr. Elvis, I still have a video and audio of the Chief of Defense Staff after that meeting coming out to make it mean that everything is okay and everything is fine. Now, some Nigerians believe that the president is not being told the truth. And most times he comes out to address national issues, he seems to be completely disproportionate from the reality on ground. It's almost like there is a major contrast of him not understanding the reality of what Nigerians are going through. In the president's national broadcast on October 1, the president said we're fighting the war against insurgency and that we're winning it. Meanwhile, the reality is not the case. So that's why I'm asking you, this set of persons, do you think they will just be too bureaucratic? Let it not seem as if they do not know what they're doing by giving the president a false hope about the reality on ground. How about having citizenship engagement for them to be told the truth, for the president to hear directly from the people how bad the state of insecurity is? Because the National Assembly has refused to address this up until the recent onslaught in Kwara State that they're now talking about it. But we've not heard them call for a major meeting to address it. So how do we know this same set of persons will not give the same storyline on Thursday when they meet with the president?
We should not allow it to be. If the Chief of Defense Staff is saying everything is in order, the Chief of Defense Staff is an employee of the president. He's actually trying to safeguard his job. But we know too well that it goes beyond what is feeding Nigerians. Nigerians must be able to at least also analyze whatever is going to come out of the Council of State meeting, because I already yesterday that about 7 local governments or 9 in Kwara State are under siege as we speak. Kwara is a state in Nigeria. So and if at this time the president cannot be told the actual truth concerning the insecurity, which means the Council of State meeting ought not to even come up in the first instance. The caliber of people in that Council of State meeting all should be able to speak the truth. These are past presidents to ahead of this. These are retired judges and whatever. So they also know where it's speaking. That they have constituencies. They come from different parts of this nation. And this one is going, the insecurity is not limited to any part of this nation any longer now. It's going around everywhere. If you are not having insurgency, you are having banditry, you are having kidnappers, you are having herdsmen, Fulani herdsmen. So there's no part of Nigeria now that is insulated from this insecurity. So we expect that the truth must be spoken. Not the one the Chief of Defense Staff is coming to tell Nigerians that everything is all right. The Chief of Defense Staff, I watched him when the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Rabo, launched his book some days ago. I've read that book. I'm still reading that book. I also knew what he said in that in that book launch concerning the challenges they are also facing in coping the insecurity. So if he comes out and tell Nigerians, oh, everything is all right, we are fighting, we know too well that they are doing their best, but their best is not well enough for Nigerians to actually rely on at this moment.
All right. Let's go back to INEC chairman. The president has reacted to his departure, and he accepted the departure of Mahmud Yakub. And obviously, based on his expiration, we do know he actually wished him well and granted him national honor. Does this verify the claim that there was something that was not right between the both of them? Because some people will say he's leaving way too early. He was meant to conduct the Anambra governorship election before he leaves. So are we saying that it's Agbamuche that will be the one to conduct the Anambra election that is coming up in November? Or you think that this is the appropriate time for him to leave?
No, I mean, we should celebrate his exit, Esther.
Okay.
We should celebrate his exit, yes. Personally, I'm celebrating it. I know many Nigerians will celebrate Mahmoud Yakub's exit as INEC chairman along with me too. So let's even see that it's not Mahmoud that will conduct the Anambra election of November 8th. Yeah. So that what happened in Edo State itself will not repeat itself. What we have been seeing since Tinubu came in will not repeat itself. Remember that the person probably, if Agbamuche is going to be the one that will conduct Anambra election, she's only on an anti-capacity. So let's see if we can get a genuine election or for just this interim state.
How do you know that? How do you know you're going to have a genuine election under Agbamuche? No, it's still the same institution, the same set of persons that they report to.
No. She is just on an acting capacity, so she has nothing to lose. If she can give Nigeria another people a better election, she has nothing to gain and nothing to lose. So, but one should expect that she should trend the better part so that her name can be in the book, Anna book of records that at least when she conducted one time she conducted another election, there was a difference. But this one that we have been saying that the whole system is slow. It's like a litmus test, slowing the same round now. Since Yakub came in, let's see. It's just going to be a difference.
All right. Okay, so you know now that you know that this is INEC chair handing over to Agbamuche because she's the most senior official. It doesn't mean that this is the president's appointee. We've heard that the president is set to announce Professor Joash Amupitan as the new INEC chairman. We recall that there were talks about the zoning of the new INEC chair and that the Southwest had never actually had anyone from that zone. There was a breakdown of INEC chairmen or persons who have been in charge of electoral bodies since way back when we started a democratic dispensation, or when we're supposed to have a civil manner of administration. So this indication is coming, and that the president is set to announce him as the new chairman of INEC, that barring any last-minute changes, Professor Amukwiton is expected to replace Professor Yakub as the national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission. So the question is, it could be that between today and tomorrow, the president could announce Amukwiton. What's your take on that?
Yeah, if it's announced, he also she's still going to go through this scrutiny and confirmation at the National Assembly.
They have been screening since last week. Professor Joash Amikwito and a couple of others have been screened, the DSS, some security operatives, NSA as well.
That's the security screening. And the National Assembly will still sit on their own and, confirm or whatever. But the issue here is, I know too well that we have not really had INEC chairman from the Southwest since this democracy. But how will Nigerians receive it that INEC chairman again is coming to the Southwest? I don't know how Nigerians are going to receive it, because if you look at the graphs from the northern part of Nigeria, they are saying that almost all the parastatals and the good offices are from the Southwest. Again, INEC chairman. So if you just oppose that with what we are seeing on ground now concerning 2027 general election, something is in the offing, Esther. But we are going to start analyzing that as soon as the man has been announced and confirmed. But as it is now, let us still believe that it's still at the pipeline, Esther.
All right. There was a clash between Rufai Oseni and the Minister of Works, Mr. David Umahi. So, yes. So apparently tension flared because Umahi grew visibly irritated by questions from Rufai Seni, who accused the minister of reporting him to President Bola Tinubu over his comments on the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project. During the discussion, Umahi described himself as a professor in the field of engineering, which prompted Oseni to demand the year he attained the title. However, the former Ebonyi State governor clarified that his professorship was not conferred by any academic institution but earned through experience. And so he says, keep quiet and stop saying what you don't know. I'm a professor in this field. You don't understand anything. Dismissing Rufai Seni's claim and stop saying I reported you to the president. You are too small. What's your reaction to this?
Esther, I saw that altercation and I was so ashamed of the so-called leaders of this nation. You see, how do you prevent the correspondent, a journalist, from doing his job? This is the third realm of the essay, that we are meant to check and balance every arm of government, whether executive, legislature, or judiciary. So what was Rufai's fault, or what was his offense? That he asked questions. So the man who is superintending an office, that a ministry as bogus as Ministry of Wars, cannot tell Nigerians, the Nigerians whose taxpayers are being used to finance that, those projects, that okay, a kilometer costs so amount of money, and as a result, we have so number of social kilometers, and this is the amount that is going for. What was his offense? That was just a question he was wanting Nigerians to know. And this man picked it the other way and turned it like a personal grasp. He has a personal issue with Rufai Husseini. When I watched that video, I was just ashamed. Is this how the leaders that that are being paid with our taxpayers' money bullying us, and we are not entitled to hear the truth about our nation? Is that how it's done in other parts of the world? We see leaders, we see appointees or even elected leaders in other parts of the world, when they are accused, some of them will say, no, I have to even resign so that I can clear my name. But here, you are coming to abuse even a public officer who is doing his job in his rightful office. I mean, if journalists don't ask questions, who is going to ask questions extra? This is constitutional position. It is not as if it's asking questions of what does not belong to his office. He's doing his job rightfully. Ask questions. Instead of to respond, I just saw vulgar words coming from the minister. I mean, what kind of how do we manage this kind of situation? And appointee, and I'm expecting that the president should even be able to call into order that this is how such things are. These are supposed to be the full soldier, the image maker of the government. And even when we are saying the government is not transparent, they come out and prove it that this government is transparent. It's just to bully Nigeria so that we will not hear the truth. We see road construction all over the world, but what we hear in Nigeria is especially we see triple of dollars, amount of dollars when we are talking of a kilometer of kilometer of road in Nigeria. As against what we see in other parts of the world. So, but they cannot bamboozle us. They cannot bully us. We must ask questions because it is our right as journalists to ask questions.
Mr. Elvis, let's take a listen to Rufai Seni and David Umahi on that particular clash that transpired earlier today.
You will allow me do a right of reply because it's obvious you came for me today, my very good minister friend. After hang on a minute.
I'm still talking.
Hang on a
Allow me
minute.
to finish.
After you went to report me to, you can finish. But after you reported me to President Tinubu, you are on here with me again today. But it's fine. I will respond to you, Minister. Go ahead.
You were putting a. Abati, am I on?
Go ahead, Minister. We can hear you. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Yes. Now, the third one, Rufai became an attorney, darkening counsel without knowledge. She said, oh, there is a case in court. Yes. There were and there are still cases in court. The first case was 39, people that their properties were demolished and properly, evaluated, and they were paid. Even shanties, the president directed us to pay, because he wants to alleviate their problems. Naturally and normally and by law, we don't pay for shanties when they are destroyed. You pay for properly, registered, properties, and when you destroy it, you pay. Now, The 39 of them, which went home was one of it, the court dismissed the case. Then she now single-handedly on her own went to Federal High Court and you passed, against the traffic, which you did. Sometimes you broke the law, and it does not mean that you are restricted unless the court evidently says so. So these are the issues. Now, the diaspora, the investors, who are
report me in front of President Tinubu and said all sorts. Anyway, I am not beholden to you. My job is accountability.
You're too small for me to report you to the president.
No, but they are
You're too small.
Minister, let me speak. Minister, let me speak. I have empirical evidence. The world watched it on the commissioner of the project when you mentioned the questions I asked you to the president. That was reporting me to the president officially. The world watches, so you don't need to dilly-dally about the empirical facts. I don't talk without facts, Minister. When I have my facts, I talk. And I insist on my question when I ask on cost.
Let me only address you,
Minister. You will not allow me speak. The problem is you will not allow me speak. You spoke for over 20 minutes, over 10 minutes.
Because you don't know what you are speaking.
But let me speak. Let me speak. You will not allow me speak. You see, if you can just keep quiet and be calm and just allow me speak.
All right, Mr. Elvis Alimehele, a couple of people thought that Rufai Seni was very rude in the way he addressed the minister, which elicited the minister's reaction to his questions. What do you think about that?
I didn't see anything rude, yes, Esther. I didn't see anything rude. Normally, you know what we call no hold back questions in journalism?
Yeah.
We are supposed to ask questions so that Nigerians can be abreast of what's actually going on around them. And anybody that is, frowning or shouting that you should not ask questions, which means there are skeletons in his cupboard. I didn't see anything bad in that. So if Rufai said he has got to report him to the president, and he said he's too small, you are too small. What do you mean by being too small? We are human beings. Is it because you were fortunate to have a position? Nobody heard of you before 2011 in this nation until you became the deputy governor to former State Governor INEC. Then from there you became governor and became minister. So do you think that the person you are saying is too small tomorrow can also rise to get to a position of appointment that he will also become somebody in this nation? Even at his capacity, it's already a very important. If you even want to do a vote swap between Umari and Rufai, you see that Rufai will flash win Umari so much. Because Nigerians want to hear what is going on around there. So I didn't see anything wrong there. It's not that sometimes in this nation, we try to pull down people because we want to shut down on people so that Nigerians will not hear the truth. But that cannot be done. If we can tell the military, as a military era, so far we're already doing this job, if we can report the military, so we must also be able to report the democracy that we fought for, and we must get the truth, because there's freedom of speech. And he also have rights to also answer. And that was why he was on screen this morning to actually answer some of those questions, because Nigerians want to know what's actually going on around the Ministry of Works. You are hearing all the billions that are being loaned every day. Nigerians is going to take. Well, it is at the infrastructure. Yes, you cannot travel from one town to another to have a good access road. The minister is shouting because he doesn't want Nigerians to hear the truth. We must hear the truth, Esther. I didn't see anything wrong with the questions Rufai asked.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Elvis Alimehele, for giving us incisive details on the questions posed at you on the World News at 6. I sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you, Esther. Have a blessed evening.
You too, sir. And just before we go, let's look at stories outside the shores of Nigeria. Israelis are marking 2 years since Hamas's attack on the 7th of October 2023, in which about 1,200 people were killed and 251 others were taken hostage. At the site of the Nova Festival attack, people embrace at memorials garnished with flowers, tributes, and candles. While in Egypt, Israel and Hamas continue indirect talks on Donald Trump's 20-point peace plan. At least 67,173 people have been killed in Israel's subsequent military campaign in Gaza. Israel does not allow international news organizations, including the BBC, into Gaza to report freely. And that's a wrap on the World News at 6. My name is Esther Wachuku. Good evening and thank you for listening.